This is the solution to problem 2 from the third midterm. In this problem, in a blind taste test, 100 subjects were given a taste of Coke and a taste of RC Cola and asked which they prefer. The study is conducted by RC Cola, and they would like to determine if there's a reason to believe that people prefer RC Cola to Coke. So in part A, we needed to find the proportion of subjects that would have to say they prefer RC Cola to Coke to validate the following claim. There is statistically significant evidence that more than half of all people prefer RC Cola to Coke. So pretty much what we wanted to find was the proportion that was greater than 0.5. So what I did was I created a null and alternative hypothesis to reflect that. My null hypothesis was that the proportion needed to be less than or equal to the 0.5, which is half of the population. And so my alternative hypothesis reflected the opposite, that the proportion was greater than 0.5. So in terms, basically, the null hypothesis states that more or less than half of all the people in the study prefer RC Cola to Coke. And the alternative hypothesis states that more than half of all people prefer RC Cola to Coke. So what I did was I converted 95%, found the z-score for that, which was 1.645, and I used the equation p plus z-score multiplied by the square root of p, 1 minus p, divided by n. When I plugged in the values, I got the equation 0.5 plus 1.645 multiplied by the square root of 0.5 times 1 minus 0.5 divided by 100. And I got the value of 0.58225. So this value basically means that 58%, approximately 58%, or 58 out of the 100 subjects in this case would have to say they prefer RC Cola to Coke to validate the following claim. There is statistically significant evidence that more than half of all people prefer RC Cola to Coke. In part B, we wanted to see if our answer to part A would change if instead the study included 2,000 people rather than the 100. So what I did was I plugged in the same values for the equation but replaced n with 2,000 instead of 100. And when I did that, I got the answer 0.5184. So the proportion actually went down a little bit. The proportion to support the null hypothesis went down because the larger the sample size, the less variance there is. An increase in sample size means less variability. Because of this larger n, we can assume that the proportion of people who prefer RC Cola to Coke would get closer and closer to your true proportion of people who actually prefer RC Cola to Coke. And this is how you solve problem number 2 from the third midterm.